you hit record and I can do the same on my end.
We are recording right now.
Ooh.
All right. Okay, Alder, you can open up the meeting.
All right, thank you all. Welcome to Protection and Policy Committee for March 22nd. We have roll call. Alder Steuer is here. Alder Vanderleest.
Here.
Alder LaFave.
Here.
And Alder Stevens.
Here.
All present and accounted for.
All right, approval of the agenda.
Motion to
Okay,
approve.
we're gonna have some changes here. So I'm gonna throw these out right away. Alderdorf requests number 3 to be moved up to number 1. And Alder Scannell asked for number 4 to be moved up to number 3, which means that the agenda would be number 3, number 1, number 4, number 2, and number 5, if my math is correct.
Motion to approve.
Well, I'm just waiting for Attorney Bunger.
Two would be
That's all.
before mine yet. I
Yes.
think, no,
No.
you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. My bad.
No,
Just to
no,
confirm, there will be 3, 1, 4, 2, 5.
correct. That's what I have.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
and that's a motion to approve by
Alder Vanderleest did a motion,
I'll
Be a
second.
motion to add.
and then
motion to
second by LaFave. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, that passes unanimously.
1 second. And now we need a motion to approve as amended.
Okay.
Motion to approve as
Motion-
amended.
Motion by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second, I got Vanderleest this time.
Fine.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, that passes unanimously.
All right, and now approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion. Motion by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by LaFave. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, that passes unanimously.
All right, and now with the changes, we are on to item number 3.
Okay, number 3, to resume the Green Bay Common Council meetings in person, beginning with the April 20th, 2021 meeting. Committee meetings would resume in person by May 1st, 2021. Safety considerations should be implemented, so we resume in a safe manner, submitted by Alder Vanderleest. Alder Dorf, you brought this forward. Do you want to
Sure.
start?
Sure, yeah, I would just wanted to propose an amendment to that and to give my reasoning. I would like to propose that we begin all meetings June 1st and retain a hybrid option for those people that still would not be comfortable coming in person. The reason I'm proposing June 1st is because May 1st, everyone, basically all the adults, will be eligible to get the vaccine if they choose to do that. It would give staff and the rest of the alders the month of May to get the first and second vaccines, which are 3 weeks apart. So by waiting until our June meetings, I think it would offer just one extra level of protection and safety, and it's not very different than April 20th. So I'm hoping that the committee will take up that idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Alder Vanderleest, you brought this up. Do you have, and then I'll get Alder LaFave after that.
I guess considering that most organizations, the county board is one. I was at a meeting today with the Electrical Association of Wisconsin on code updates and things, and there was 96 people that met in person. And most of the businesses that I'm affiliated with, they're business as usual, but they're using this, the social distancing, and they're wearing their masks. So I feel that, the city can move forward at this time, I think in good conscience. And, I think that the public, I've had people call me up from my district and they recommend that, the city get back to normal business, get the city hall doors open. And, I think that it's, and as people are getting vaccinated, that, that's just another plus. But I think we can do it at this time, with the time frame that I mentioned, quite safely and successfully. I have people that are related to me that work in the hospital. They've never skipped a beat. They go to work on a daily basis, and they're dealing with people that are sick, and that's their job. And I feel that, if you're following your social distancing and doing the things you're supposed to do, and we have plenty of room in the city chambers that we could, get our meetings back in order right away. And the schools are opening up and, they're coming out with new guidelines, and this is only March. So we got a good, time frame. They're talking for the young kids in school. It's just like a 3-foot, a 3-foot space. And, I think that we can move forward now. That's my thought. And that's what I'm proposing. Thank
Okay. All right, Alder LaFave, you had something?
Yes, I think what we could do, because some of us, like myself, I've been through both the vaccinations. So, and I'm more than 2 weeks out. I did go to the Brown County Board meeting the first time in person, sitting down with the members, but there are 4 or 5 who still do not wear their masks. So I make sure I socially distance and everything. But anyway, I think a hybrid would be we could do a hybrid until, as Barb Dorf had mentioned, June 1st. That way there are staff who maybe might not get the vaccine right away. It's hard for some people to get in right away too. So I think a hybrid would work for those who don't feel comfortable meeting in person. And you have to realize we're not going to have enough room for the council members and all the staff to fit in the room, because we're still going to have to social distance. And so I think a hybrid would work.
To jump in really quick, I'm
Yes, go
sorry
ahead.
if I just did want to clarify that as far as the return and resuming of in-person meetings for council and for the committees, that is within the authority of council's discretion. And but extending that to staff attendance and in what capacity, that falls more so under the purview of the mayor as the chief executive. So I just wanted to clarify that the discussion as far as resuming of meetings and staff interplay, there's a separate component to that would require the chief executive to be weighing in and making those decisions.
Have any business?
Okay.
I'll get you in a second, Alder Scannell, then Alder Stevens. Was there any discussion on that, Attorney Bunger, as far as the administration yet? As far
No,
as how they
not
feel
that-
about that? Okay. All right, Alder Scannell, and then Alder Stevens, I'll get you right after that.
I just want to find out, can we do hybrid meetings? I know several months ago, and we tried a hybrid meeting at Transit, and it did not work out at all.
Right.
So has technology been updated or whatever? Can we do hybrid meetings?
I believe there have been discussions as far as that option, and I think the IT department was looking into other options and seeing what we could do, particularly in the council chambers, not necessarily in the committee rooms. But I know that frequently, just participating in the conference calls with the other municipalities over the last year, that the hybrid style has been kind of difficult for many municipalities with technology, with being able to be in person and also recording virtually to allow public attendance, a hybrid style as well.
Okay. Alder Stevens.
Thank you. I would agree with Alder Vanderleest. I think we can go back sooner than later. But I'd like to make a change to do it to May 4th instead of end of April, if that's okay with Vanderleest.
I'll support that.
And the reason why I say this, I know that the vaccine is available to people and it will become more available, but unfortunately, as an alder, and if an alder chooses to get a vaccine, and they don't have to tell us if they got it or not. Nobody has to tell us if they got vaccinated. So I feel like we can't really say until more people get vaccinated, they have the right not to tell us if they didn't get vaccinated. So, it comes down to their health. So I don't think we should be relying on vaccination. We know who got vaccinated currently, we don't, but there's maybe other alders that are choosing not to get vaccinated. We can't ask them if they got it or not.
Alder Gerlach.
Thank you. I not to add and drag out the conversation, but I really think this is important. I am the only alder who has never participated in a meeting in council chambers. And you just don't know how badly I want to do that. I've never walked in there as an alder. I've never participated in a committee meeting in City Hall. And I'm fully vaccinated, and it just is so wonderful to go and do my own grocery shopping again. But let me tell you, if we meet, those of us who are vaccinated and we feel confident, we are pressuring people who are not safe to come into a group. I am totally against it. I just feel that we're all frustrated, but we've done it this long. I went for 1 whole year without entering the grocery store, without going to a hair salon, and I could do those things for another year if I had to. We have to think about the younger people who haven't been vaccinated and won't be for a while. We're pressuring them. We're setting up a situation where people are going to feel, well, you know, if the alders say it's okay, well, it must be city council said it's okay. I think we have to be strong enough to hold the line. I just really hope you won't vote for this.
So Alder Gerlach, are you looking at what Alder Dorf brought up as far as a date? Is that
I
okay?
believe she proposed June 1st.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm certainly open to think about it at that point. We got to think about it at some point. I just
Right.
don't want to hurry and pressure people who aren't vaccinated, because we're safe, but we can make them sick and we could make this thing spike out of control.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, thank you, Alder Gerlach. Alder LaFave?
Yes, I want to bring up the county. The county, unfortunately, they voted, and those who did not want to go in person were in the minority. So they opened it up only in person. And a lot of the committee meetings were meeting in person. Well, I said, I'm not going to go. It's not just my age. I have 3 pre-existing conditions. I can't go and feel safe, because there were those who would not wear their masks. So I actually went to my doctor and I got a written report from my doctor saying that I could only attend if they wear their masks, social distance, which they weren't doing. So, I mean, they were social distancing, but they weren't wearing their masks. So I could not go. They made a couple arrangements, but that didn't work out what they did for me. So I missed county board meetings. And so did, I'm sorry, all of a sudden in my mind, another supervisor could not attend. She
So-
has not attended a board meeting in person.
So you had
And
no
I think
no
this
other
is-
alternative? You had
Pardon?
no other alternative to go to that
They
meeting?
finally, the last two, they had to, 2 ago, they had to do it all virtually because of, they could not arrange the proper meeting space. But the last one, then they opened it up where, yes, those who could not make it could attend. They do WebEx, and it works out fine that way. But there are others, they were younger and they did feel they were new on the county board. They felt, yes, that they needed to attend because they're brand new. And otherwise they thought, you know, their constituents would be upset. Well, we voted for you and you're not going. So they did attend, even though they weren't happy.
Okay,
And so,
all right.
and I don't think it's right to pressure, as Alder Gerlach said. I don't think it's right to pressure people. If we open
Okay.
up too soon, they're
All
going to
right.
feel like they're going to have to go. And I don't think that's right.
Okay, thank you, Alder LaFave. Alder
Can I make
Dorf
a
first.
clarification?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead, and then Alder Stevens.
Just a clarification for what Alder Stevens said. I never said that people needed to tell us that they were vaccinated. My purpose is to give them the month of May to get that opportunity. They can choose to take that opportunity or not, but they can't have that opportunity until May. Everyone is not eligible until May. So that's why I'm asking for that 4 weeks in May for people to get the first and second vaccinations and at least have that opportunity. And that's why I'm again asking for June.
Okay, thank you. Alder Stevens? Did you have something?
Yeah, a couple things. Do we need to ask all the alders, and if they're willing to tell us that they want to do it or they don't want to do it? Also, I also,
It's gonna go to council anyhow.
Yeah.
sure,
And
And
it's
also-
staff too.
sure.
Staff. Okay.
You know, and our chamber office should be ready for us to move in there within 30 days if possible, it should be set for us. You know, it's been 12 months already since we've been there. And also, I also feel like our own federal government, they've been meeting in person, our Congress, our Senate, they've been meeting in person, you know, but small town of Green Bay, it's like, we don't want to go back. We need to wait. We need to wait. Well, why is our federal government meeting in person? Our Brown County's meeting in person. You know, we need to get back to work.
Thank you, Alder Stevens.
That's my feeling on it.
I was going to ask real quickly, does anybody have a clue as far as what the CDC is saying right now for all of this? I haven't really followed that recently. Anybody can weigh in on that? No? Alder LaFave?
Well, one thing I know, they say that everyone still has to wear their masks.
Right.
Even if you're vaccinated, you've gone through it, you need to wear your mask because there aren't, the studies are out there. They're thinking that, like myself, I'm fully vaccinated. If I'm around people who don't wear their mask, I can pick it up. I won't get it, but I can transmit it to someone else. And I certainly don't want to do that.
All right.
Alder Story, I want to
think-
make one comment.
Yes, go ahead, Alder Vanderleest.
As far as, people that are vaccinated, it's no guarantee that they're not going to get COVID. I talked to the Bell and Respiratory Clinic, and they said just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you can't pick up COVID-19. And I'm going to urge the mayor that he will, consider what we're talking about for the May 4th. Is that Mr. Stevens mentioned May 4th? I would urge the mayor to, to say, let's move forward and get things going by May 4th. I would be comfortable with that. And that'll be my motion that we go May 4th. Is it our council meeting for the May 4th? Is that correct?
That's our council meeting, May 4th.
I'd make that motion.
I do feel we need to be a hybrid for the last 2 months of that.
Well,
we should have the technology available for that. If we can spend thousands of dollars of locking down our city hall, we should be able to spend thousands of dollars in our own chamber room. So I think it is best to go hybrid because I don't think people should feel pressured to go in there. I never felt like that. If Alder LaFave chose not to go, totally understandable. If Barb didn't want to go, totally understandable. If Lynn didn't want to go, totally understandable. But they do need to have that hybrid option. And there should be no reason why our city hall cannot offer that to all of the alders and to all of the staff members.
So Alder Stevens, I had a question. As far as the hybrid, I understand the concept, but are you saying that for the alders? But what about administration and as such? Because the problem is the mayor hasn't really decided that yet. So
that would be up to the mayor to decide what he wants to do with staff.
So we're kind of, we don't have all the cards here. To really make I'd almost opt to see what the administration says, and I don't know if that would be done before our council meeting, but I would weigh more toward that, and then we could decide. Otherwise,
But Celestine Jeffries should know.
Okay, is Celestine here? I don't know if she's here at the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, I see her down there.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
What's the question?
Yeah, the basic question was, Alder Stevens is talking about the hybrid issue, for meetings coming up, and we're looking at May 4th to maybe open up council chambers. But I think, we were talking that the mayor and the administration would have to decide as far as how they're going to move forward with this issue. So I just wanted to hear from your standpoint what your thoughts are as far as hybrid, opening up early, et cetera. Do you have any comments on that?
I don't have any comments about opening up early. That's up to the council and the mayor. In terms of hybrid, I think, we've had some conversations at staff level as to our capacity to do a hybrid. And let me just also remind you that with social distancing, we actually have room for 17 people to sit in the desks and about 24 people to sit in the gallery. So that's the capacity of council with social distancing.
Well, that seems like a pretty good number. I know that we've had meetings where we have more than 17 people in the audience, but I've had many that have been
That's the other way
far
around.
less.
17 in the desk and 24 in the audience.
Okay. Well, thank you. Alder Gerlach?
Just wanted to remind everybody that Green Bay is just under the microscope. Look at how we are still being scrutinized for our elections of last year. We do this, and then we have a spike in COVID, and then we're going to have another year of scrutiny and I just say, please think about being safe. We're all frustrated. We all want to do this. Nobody wants to do it more than I do, but think about the long-term consequences we could be inviting. And I'll be quiet now.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm not to be quiet, but thank you for your comments. Alder LaFave.
Yes, I want to bring up that the county figured out how to do a hybrid, and I think the city can find out how to do a hybrid. And also, the county, there have been around the state, I've got there are 22, I think, counties that did a hybrid of all the counties. I don't hold me to the figure, but there's a good majority of them did some form of hybrid for their meetings. So it's available. It's just, yeah, we got to ask Mike now to, put his thinking cap on. He's pretty good.
Right. Well, I can see both sides of this issue. So I don't know, does anybody else have any other comments? Otherwise we can, what was the motion again? Was there a motion?
I did make a motion, President Stoyer there,
Yeah.
that we would, fourth meeting in person, open up the council chambers. I think a lot of it depends on how the mayor's gonna, I'm urging the mayor to move forward with it. And, if the administration has the final say at the city council, I would say, that let's get going on it.
Okay.
That's my
So
motion.
is that also with hybrid lease as well?
That's what if that'll work out, and the ones that want to come in person can come in person.
Okay, I'll second that then. If it's with the hybrid, I'll second it.
Okay, I mean, that does give us a little bit of leeway there. Okay, so do we have a second? You have a second then, Alder LaFave, correct?
I was wondering on the motion, should we then put down June 1st for full open, maybe? Would that make sense too, to put on?
I don't know if we should just do one at a time.
One at a time is fine.
One at a time,
Okay.
because, it depends on what the mayor says too. He might not want to do any of that. So then the entire council will have a chance to weigh in on it. So it is what it is.
So you want to wait, we'll do this and go to the council and then we can discuss.
Yeah,
next month
I know
if we wanna-
you don't want to do committee work at council, but I think this is an important issue, so. All right, Vanderleest made a motion and there was a second by LaFave. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for all your input, everybody. Good luck, Barb, at your meeting, few items.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so let me know when we're ready.
I was muted. We are back to item number 1.
I saw your lips moving, but anyway, all right, number 1. Consider possible action on a request by Anduzzi Sports Club East at 900 Kepler to extend their licensed premises to the parking lot to hold the 5th annual Anduzzi Fest this July 22nd through July 25th. Staff.
Yes, law department has no legal objections to the request. I did just want to point out that in the request that's in the packet, the applicant is asking for a waiver of our noise ordinance, which doesn't come for approval to the committee. It's given directly by permit from the police department. So I just wanted to advise the applicant to go ahead and make that request directly to the chief of police pursuant to ordinance 27.203 sub 5. And that kind of lays out the procedures for getting the noise variance. And on the remainder, I'm going to defer to the police department.
Okay. Lieutenant?
Yes, they've held this event multiple times in the past. There's never been any issues out there. Yes, there is a residential area somewhat close to the Anduzzi's and Anduzzi Fest, but the bar is mainly in the middle of an industrial park. They've always had very adequate security. Any issues, they reach out to us beforehand to make sure they're okay. So the police department has no issues with them having this event.
Okay. Lieutenant, I just had a quick question. You said there's some residential, I mean, that would be across I-43.
I-43 and
and a little bit to the north, I guess.
right on the other side of Mason Street, there's some residential areas. So you could kind of hear the music over there, but it's not loud and disturbing. And Doozies has been really great about limiting that amount by how they place the bands and the direction the music's actually being played.
Right. I think the owners are here, or some representatives are here. But I'd like to just ask a question. Gentlemen, just state your name and address for the record.
Motion to open the floor.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Thank you. Motion. Do we have a second? A second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You guys are like hawks. I love it. Okay, go ahead. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Andy Samansky, 2295 Lost Dolphin Road, De Pere, Wisconsin.
Okay. I guess, you've had this event now for how many years?
I believe this is our 5th year.
Okay. And like I said, we defer to our law department and police department often in these type situations, but I guess the only concern I had would be noise to areas. And I know that you're fairly far away. I mean, you got I-43 blocking off that whole area, and then Mason Street, that area too. So I don't know how far Kepler, you're fairly close to the frontage road, not frontage road, but whatever road parallels Mason Street just to the south. I'm not sure what that road is, but I was just concerned. I just wanted to make sure that you feel that you're doing a well enough job not to disturb any of the neighbors.
I hope so. We follow up after the event every year with the police department to inquire about complaints, concerns, any feedback that they can provide for us, so we can set ourselves up to have this event ongoing year after year. We've learned how to position the band, where to put sides on the tent to control the noise, the volume, the positioning in the parking lot. The time that we play, we pulled back from what we originally did the very first year. So, I appreciate the feedback from the police department, and we'll continue to make the initial application request to them on timing and follow up with them post-event to address any issues that may come up.
Well, I'm good with that. Anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, make a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
By Vanderleest, second by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Stevens, seconded by LaFave. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes. Good luck, gentlemen. And if I live closer, maybe I'd stop in, but you never know. Is it open to the public? Just nod your head. Okay. All right, thank you. Moving forward, we'll wait for Attorney Bungert.
Yep, 1 second.
Okay, you ready? We voted, so it was unanimous.
We are on to item number 4.
Number 4. Okay. To review how the city archives information with possible action to expedite publishing information for better transparency and reducing the need for public information requests submitted by Alder Randy Scannell. Alder, did you write that? That's pretty in-depth. It's almost like a scholarly kind of paragraph.
I worked on it for days.
Well, Alder Scannell, go ahead and
Well,
discuss.
it kind of came to me when the city published all those documents about the last election, that maybe we could do this more on a regular basis. That if we could get organized and set up, I think with IT, to set up a system where all that information is quickly put into a folder, whatever, And then perhaps we can get the Brown County Library and or the university to help us get that published, or they take it and they archive it or whatever. If that would maybe help cut down on requests, because we could just point them people in that direction, and also keep us more efficient that way and more transparent. So if we could just kind of refer this to staff so they can review what we're doing, and if there's any way to make materials more available quicker. I think it's just a matter of organization and maybe working with IT to help make that very efficient and easy, as well as maybe the Brown County Library or the university to archive this stuff and make it go. So that's what I was thinking. I don't know. We need to hear from staff what they
All right.
on that, and if it's just spinning wheels here.
Okay. I was going to ask either Alder Scannell or Attorney Bungert if right now for all the meetings and all the information that the city disseminates over time, aren't there records of that right now? I mean, that we have some of that in-house, but as far as, you know, at libraries and things like that, do they get a hold of all that information? How do they do that?
My understanding is that we maintain our own records. I don't think we submit anything to the library. All of our minutes and agendas are housed on our website so that anyone has access to that. I know over the years we've also added, I believe maybe Inspections can speak on it, but I know Inspections has started uploading certain information with respect to properties. I think that was something that was added to be able to help kind of facilitate record sharing. With respect to this particular posting that the city did, it was very particular and very unorthodox, I would say. It took a significant amount of work to get together to upload everything. It pretty much took me a whole day of compiling everything and posting it. And the majority of those documents were email chains. So that's not something we would necessarily regularly post on the website. And it was specifically just in response to the different news stories and questions that were kind of circulating in the community with respect to the election. And so in the interest of transparency, it was just easier to post all those documents so that everyone was able to read them for themselves. With respect to being able to reduce the amount of requests by posting additional information, I don't think it would necessarily have an impact on the amount of requests we get. I think the requests would probably stay the same unless we somehow also advertise that these documents are available. So for example, if somebody puts in a records request to get copies of minutes from a meeting, we still have to respond to that request. So the request still has to be taken in, has to be logged, a file needs to be created because we have to keep track of all that. And then we have to respond to the person, and we can't just deny it and say it's available online. We basically say it's available online, here's the link and how you can get to it. So that work would still, as far as responding to the request and that processing, would still exist.
Right.
I think we would also have to have some sort of system created and determining what is something that we're going to be posting online and what we're not. We have, you know, a wide range of requests. Just this past year, everything was very much focused on the election and a lot of email communication. That was the crux of it. So as far as other documents people request, you know, inspection records, building permits, copies of, you know, whether there are underground storage tanks, you know, buried underneath properties. It's a wide gamut of things that people we would have to come up with a system of determining, okay, what is actually going to be posted on our website. Right. And then from a point, I'm not sure what restrictions we have as far as size and how much we can post and how much content we can host on our website and on our servers. I'm presuming, and I'm not a tech person by any means, but I'm presuming there's some sort of limit. So then we would need to have some sort of process in place as far as cycling out what's posted, what's taken off, and so forth. So those are just kind of my prelim thoughts on the item.
Might there be a cost for recovery of records too? You know, sometimes if you put in a request, I think that referring it to staff might, if you could look at that as well. I'm also looking at records that, I don't know how far back the city goes retaining records. You know, it's almost like 7 years of tax information. After a while, you can get rid of it. You know, for historical purposes, you know, I mean, I like history, but I'm just saying to go far enough back, you know, what's the option? Where is that information?
Right. We have a records retention policy that was just updated and approved by council. And that kind of lays out the parameters by which each department stores its records and what records need to be kept for what particular timelines. And all that is approved at a state level. So it's our municipal rule book as far as retention, like our retention schedule. And then that's so it was approved by council and approved at the state level.
But is there a date? I'd almost like to see each department have a date.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to see each department, how far they go back with their records.
I have Assistant City Attorney Mather did the update to the retention schedule.
That would be good. I think that would be good.
And then as far as recovery, cost recovery for records, under open records, the only thing that the city can charge for is direct costs of reproduction and location costs. So a lot of times when we have electronic records or things in an electronic form, and a lot of people ask for it to be provided in an electronic form, there really is, we can't charge anything. So, you know, basically, hypothetically, if you have a records request and it's, you know, 5,000 pages in Adobe PDF, and it takes a staff member, you know, a whole week to go through that and do redactions and all that, we don't get any fees for that.
Yeah, well, that'd be interesting. I'd like to see that at least looked at. So, committee, any questions at all, or Alder Scannell? I'll let you go, and then anybody from the committee.
I'll just make a comment, Mark.
Okay.
I think Alder Scannell's got, you know, he's got, you know, an idea there, but
yeah,
I think that, you know, it sounds like there's quite a bit of baggage to get this done. And I think the staff should take a look at it. And, you know, if it sounds like it might be a very time consuming for the staff, but I understand where Alder Scannell's coming from on this. I think it might be overwhelming the staff as far as, you know, publishing all these items.
Well, is it time sensitive? I mean, that's another thing, you know, if it's not time sensitive, I could see it over a period of time, but Alder Scannell?
Yeah, what I'm proposing is really a systemic change, and it would be we'd be clearing things out, and it would require, I don't think this works if it's going to be all on staff. I think we just need to get a system in place where certain information goes certain ways, and if the Brown County Library or Historical Society or the university, if some entity is interested in taking these documents, then I think it's viable if we can get it coordinated and organized and set up. But if they're not, then, and it's all on staff, no, then I don't think this is a very viable idea at all. So it'd just be a systemic change if we can get it set up and working with other entities that they would take this. And then, you know, if it's doable, if it's possible, and we get up and going, I think eventually that change will become, and also people will recognize it. They'll know where, you know, we have cleared out our information very quickly, and it's at these areas. And so if you want it, you need to go there. And certainly we can help advertise that and everything too. But I really am looking for a systemic change if it's possible, and it would take other players besides the city for it to happen.
Okay, thank you for that. Alder, I have one quick question, and Alder Lefebvre. Attorney Bungert, you know, with with the requests that a lot of departments had and such, and I know that there might be other staff looking at this. Do you see in your estimation that this could be very time consuming, or do you think it's something that could be melded in with your everyday work?
It definitely would be an additional task that would need to be completed on top of the very busy schedule we have with responding to records requests.
Right.
And I guess the direction that we would for staff to even be able to approach like the Brown County Library or another entity of helping us with the archive posting is that we would need a little bit of direction as to what types of documents we're looking for. Are we looking that we want to post every response to every single records request, or are we I guess what certain types of documents, what are the parameters?
Well, I mean, I don't know if we're, I understand where all the scandal's coming from right now. And are you looking from the committee tonight to set that up? I would think that it's, you know, I don't think we have every answer for that right now, but I understand where we're going. I guess the request that I see would be bring it to staff and maybe just come up with a cursory idea as far as, you know, we should contact the Historical Society, the library, you know, different entities and see if they would take it. So it might be just a matter of some phone calls. I mean, I'm off during the day. I could even make calls, you know, if need be. Alder Gerlach?
Very quickly, I just think after listening to the Alder Scannell speak the second time, I got a better understanding of what he's talking about. It seems to me like we need to find a model, another municipality who is doing it the way that Alder Scannell thinks it should be done. You think so, Randy? Nod your head if you agree. Yeah, you know, maybe the League of Municipalities could help us, or I don't know who could help, but if we could find a model rather than just ask our staff to make something up out of whole cloth. My idea.
I like that idea.
Mhm.
Alder Scannell, is that something that you would entertain?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well-
don't think this is gonna happen overnight. We need to, there's a
No,
lot
I
of
know.
pieces here that we need to see if they'll work at all. And if they will, then it's still gonna take more work to get it all organized and everything.
I could see a motion to the effect of stating what Alder Gerlach said, you know, to, you know, have staff at least look at other communities and see what they do without digging too deep. Alder, well, okay, we have a motion, but Alder LaFave, you wanted to say something first?
Yeah, I just have a question a little bit about how people go about this. I want to know when there is an open records request, do you prioritize them or do you take them as they come in?
Yeah,
How's-
so we try to do them on a date filed basis, but then also taking into account complexity and scope. So if a records request comes in that's asking, you know, emails for a 6-month time period, and then another records request comes in where it's, you know, 1-page, easily identifiable document, then we'll respond to that records request prior to the one that came before it ahead of time, because it's asking, you know, for 6 months worth of emails that IT has to search and we have to review and redact. So it's a bit of a combination of first in time and then also the nature of the request itself.
Okay.
And then do all requests have to come directly to law? Because someone in my community, my neighbor association, he put in a open records request way back, oh, more than a year. And it was, he put it to, he sent the email and he called, went to Public Works, to Steve Grenier. And
Right, so yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so I assume that he had passed it on then to law.
It depends on the nature of the request. So certain departments handle their own records requests. For example, the business manager or the office manager and the records manager and the records division at PD handles all of the open records requests for police department records. So requests for any police reports and records from the police department. That doesn't get handled by law department. That's all handled internally by PD. Fire department does a number of their records requests on their own. Inspections does a lot of requests on their own. If they need review or input from the law department, then we kind of step in and help. And then other departments handle them as they feel comfortable, but a lot of them do get filtered to the law department.
So,
Okay.
so I'll probably will email you and ask you if you got that request. I'll find
Okay.
out
Okay,
where it's going.
sure.
Okay,
All right.
Mhm.
Thank you, Lil Faith.
okay, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Stevens, and the motion and seconded by LaFave. Attorney Bunker, could you just repeat the motion?
Yeah, 1 second. So the motion is to refer to staff to research if other models exist with other municipalities.
Alder Scannell, you like that?
And review our process. Well, I suppose we could check with, well, at some point, we need to review our process. We could break this down to just checking with other communities first and then.
I think just checking with other communities, and
Yep, that's
once we get the hang of that, then I think we can start moving a little more directly.
All right, so motion to review to staff to research if other models exist with other municipalities.
Right, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you
Thanks,
for all, thank you, Alder
Aye.
Scannell.
Hopefully I'll be back.
All right,
All right, we are on to item number 2.
okay, number 2. Consideration with possible action on an appeal by Damas Rodriguez regarding the denial of his application to keep 3 pets. Officer Mavis, I see you're here. I thought maybe we'd start with you.
Sure. So I had been alerted to the address after there had been a couple of reported bites. And I had learned through area neighbors that some of the bites were not reported to police. It was mediated with the animal owner, which is actually against our city Brown County Health Department and our state law as far as rabies protocol goes. The resident had in his possession at the time 5 dogs, all of which were Chihuahuas, and several of them would run at large down the public right of way. There's no sidewalk over there, so it's essentially the street. It's a pretty close-knit residential neighborhood in a nice area, and a lot of the neighbors were very fed up with it. We did end up taking enforcement action, issued multiple citations. Mr. Rodriguez was advised in November to get into compliance and had not. So then I made some follow-up contacts there, issued more citations. We ended up addressing a few other police-related matters there as well. And then he did get into compliance and put in a permit. Now, I did deny the permit at this time because all of the letters that I got back, I wanted to say were 7 or 8 of them. I think the 8th one came back later on, completely in objection. All the neighbors were tired of having dogs in their backyard. They were tired of going for a walk and getting bit, their kids. You know, it was just one thing after another, and they were just tired of it. Mr. Rodriguez had put in a request to only keep 3 of the dogs. It is my understanding that 2 of the dogs were being pet sat that were owned by his daughter. But it seems like all the neighbors say that there were 5, you know, anywhere from 4 to 5 dogs at any given time, and they've completely burned their bridges. So obviously based on the number of objections that came through, I had no other options other than to deny the permit and allow Mr. Rodriguez to file an appeal with City Council.
Okay, I had a question, Officer Mavis. How many, can you mention how many citations were written off over time?
Let me just double check here.
Just You know, it doesn't have to be totally exact, but just,
I'm gonna just estimate that about 6 citations were issued. And they're
Okay.
about $376 a piece. If there's no dog licenses, which there were none on file, those are $178 a piece.
so were those paid?
I am not aware of that.
Okay, all right. How
Well,
many,
what was the time frame on those citations?
You mean the incidences?
Yeah,
Let me just double check here. So we had calls in 2019 regarding the animal violations. We had calls in November of 2020. We had another one in December of 2020. And then, like I said, the permit got placed in February.
so basically, how long has this been going on, you know,
This-
roughly?
According to the neighbors, this had gone on for sure a year, if not more, and they were they were fed up with it. I don't know if the city clerk's office had provided you guys copies of the those objection letters. So normally what people do is they have 10 business days to submit any notifications. And then once those letters are received either in support or objection, they then are routed back to the city clerk's office, and then they send out, you know, the notification. I then made contact with Mr. Rodriguez, letting him know, hey, we received several letters back in objection, and therefore we're denying the permit. And then I explained the appeals process, and I mail him a copy of that request.
Okay,
One quick
I-
question,
yeah,
Mark.
Alder Vanderleest,
Is Mr. Rodriguez, is he in compliance right now by having his dogs licensed properly? He's allowed 2 dogs, is that correct?
He city ordinance permits 2 dogs and 3 cats. Right now, he has 3 dogs and they are all licensed. We have had no additional police calls. And he does have a permit, therefore, a permit request in, therefore I'm not going after him and citing him. He's got a permit submitted at this time, even though we've denied it based on the number of letters that have come in. I'm not going to cite him for that. I cannot safely approve of it, knowing that we have every, you know, pretty much everyone that's nearby him that objects to it.
Okay, thank you for that information.
you know, I think real
Mark.
quick, and Alder LaFave, I'll get you in a second. I just wanted to, so, I mean, they're 3 Chihuahuas. They're not very large dogs, but by the fact that they've bitten a number of folks, and you said some of these reports were not written or what? I mean, is there any idea of how many incidents there were and how many of these actually were documented? Because it seems to me that any animal can bite, so I don't care how big it is. So my first reaction was 3 Chihuahuas, but they can be fairly active animals. And
Right,
it seems to be on the loose a little bit. So how many of incidents have there been where the bites occurred and that you can document? And there's probably others that weren't documented.
Sure. So we have 2 reported bites, and they report that there's 5 dogs there. Sometimes it's hard to determine which dog bit because some of them look similar. And so, you know, with regards to these letters that came in, a lot of neighbors divulged that they themselves or their children were bit. And so that was unbeknownst to myself, or at the time I had one of the interns working for me. He reported, yeah, there were issues. He took a lot of those reports and had to mediate this. This happened after I had gone home. And so we just really wanted to get into compliance. It's like if there were issues in 2019, I don't understand why things weren't immediately corrected. I understand, you know, accidents happen, but it sounds like they would just open up the door, let the dogs out. The dogs would just run amok and no one would be supervising them. And that's when they would always end up like approaching a passerby out for a walk. And then these people ended up getting bit in the legs. Someone had a pair of pants that were damaged. You know, all these letters had just, it was just kind of crazy to see the number of complaints that there were.
Were they taken care of for rabies? I was looking through some of the documentation. Were the dogs taken care of as far as the rabies issue?
I'm only aware of that now because of the license, which is proof of the state required rabies vaccine. So now they are current.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Alder LaFave.
Mark, I'd like to open the floor because Mr. Rodriguez is here. And I'd like to hear
Sure.
it before I have to leave.
Okay, we have a motion to open the floor. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Vanderleest. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Okay, so Mr. Rodriguez is here.
Alder
Attorney
Stormy,
Bunker?
need some instruction on what to do.
Yeah, is he in the queue or,
Yeah, I'm here.
oh, you are, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez, please state your name and address for the record, and then you can speak a little bit, and then the committee may ask you some questions, so
Okay.
go ahead.
My name is Dimas Rodriguez, and the address is 155 Burgundy Court.
Okay. Well, you've been listening to some of the questions and that from the committee and others, and some of the concerns from the neighbors as well as Officer Mavis. So can you speak to the fact that you feel that you'd like to hold on to 3 dogs, even though the law states that you can only have 2 dogs? So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the incidents might happen because while I was working, the kids will take the dogs out for party, and they might not put it back in right away. But usually when I'm here, the dog's not outside. And well, and unfortunately that happens. And one of the kids was bit in the house because he was trying to take something to the dog. And that was the one, it wasn't reported, but it was inside the house.
Okay.
And we always had 3 dogs, but my daughter used to have bringing his dogs to the house, and that's the way. There were too many dogs at that time. And while I was working, then she will take the dogs over here and with I know knowing. So
Well, that's unfortunate, but the rules are there in place, and everybody needs to be aware of that. So, committee, Alder LaFave, do you have a question?
Yes, of Mr. Rodriguez. I read the report here. It says that you put in the invisible fence.
yeah, I right now I had one, but it didn't work. But the dogs, we do not put the dogs outside unless somebody goes with them. And our dogs are very, very friendly. The ones that bit the kids, they were the other dogs, my daughter's dogs. So our dogs are very friendly.
So
the ones we have our house.
when they go outside, are they on a leash at all?
Yeah, I mean, what the dogs even they do not walk out from me. Even when I come home, even if I go to the bathroom, they go behind me and wait for me outside the door.
Well, it
And
sounds like you got control, but unfortunately, there's other incidents that happen when you're not there. So that's kind of the issue we're dealing with.
Yeah, and that happened with the other dogs. Any of the ones that are over here bite anybody.
Alder LaFave, do you have anything else?
I just, I've had cats. I don't want to take care of dogs, so I have cats. So I do, believe in people having their pets. So yeah, this is a hard one because you don't want to take a pet away from somebody.
Have you had these 3 dogs? How long have you had each of these 3 dogs? Like the same amount of time?
Yeah, we have these dogs at least one at least 8 or 9 years, and the other ones at least 7 years.
Okay. Committee, anybody else? Alder Vanderleest, Alder Stevens, do you have any comments?
I would like to have a second chance, and
Right.
And I know we can do better.
Right. Well, are there any other neighbors that are here in the queue? That, I don't see any other names.
I didn't, notify them or not. I didn't
Okay.
notify any other neighbors. So
You
I
didn't.
just have the 7 or 8 letters that came in. And then, like I said, those get routed back to city council, and usually they distribute a packet amongst the council members. As far as it goes, I do have to say there are no additional
Officer
complaints.
Mavis? Okay, we're still talking with Mr. Rodriguez. We should close the floor before we do that. But anyway, Alder Stevens?
Oh, mine's for Officer Mavis.
Okay, well, let's hold on for a second. Alder Gerlach?
I have a question for Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Okay.
Miss, your letter says you put in this invisible fence, which Alder LaFave mentioned. You say it doesn't work. or it
Well,
didn't work. Does it work now?
yeah, it worked now.
And they all have the little collars on anytime they go outside?
Basically, we only have one, and only the one goes outside, we put it in.
What about the other 2 when they go outside?
Pardon me?
Oh, they share it then, you're saying?
Yeah,
Is it possible to get 2 more?
yeah, we can do it.
And since you put in this invisible fence, has there been no incidents?
No incidents since, I think the last incident was on November.
And how long has this invisible fence been in working order?
I don't know, for like a month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else have questions for Mr. Rodriguez? Otherwise, we'll close the floor and we can discuss.
Motion to close the floor.
Second by
Second.
Vanderleest, seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, Alder LaFave?
I think I'm gonna have to leave to go to my next committee meeting.
Okay,
Sorry
right.
on this, so, okay,
all right. All right.
thanks.
You bet. All right, we still have a quorum. So Alder Stevens?
I'm looking through the packet. I only see 2 letters. And Officer Mays says there's like 7.
Right, well, that's good. I'd like to get clarification on that as well.
And the one is against, and one is actually a detective for the Green Bay Police Department, which he has no issues with. So,
Yeah, I read that too.
so I need some clarification. Officer Mays.
Yeah, I don't have the letters in front of me. What I submitted, the city clerk's office has. So the letters are written on the reverse side. Did you guys get the packet?
Yeah, they're not there.
Yeah, we didn't.
Okay.
Celestine, is there any way to follow up on that?
Well, because of this situation, I feel like we need to make a motion to hold this to the next protection policy meeting.
Yeah, I agree. Because we don't have all the letters, and I think it would be important to have other folk in if they need to.
I would agree with that as well.
So we have a motion to hold until our next protection and policy meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Well,
Aye.
we're holding it because we need that additional
Right.
letters, and also we need additional neighbors to come forward as well.
Right, so Officer Mavis, is that something you could do for us?
I no longer have that. So my process is to do the inspection part of it, and then all of the paperwork gets submitted back to the city clerk's office. So Jamie Fuge was always the one that prepared those documents. I don't know who needs to notify the neighbors with regards to that. My purpose of this is just to go out and do the inspection and send out the letters and verify if certain criteria is met. And then I submit that back to the clerk's office.
I have a question then. Did that change recently?
Yeah,
I guess I'm not understanding what process.
Notifying the neighbors? Because it seems like when we have animal issues in the past, we've always had you speaking, and then we had neighbors that showed up and talked to the committee.
Sure. So there's been no formal process. I know a lot of people come forward to talk at city council meetings. Some neighbors, they reach out to me and said, hey, what's the circumstance of the permit? And then I can say, hey, it's going to go before protection and policy committee. Like I said, my facet to this is simply going out, doing the inspection, making sure that parts of the permit are met. And then when there are negative, I guess parts to it or objections, at that point, then I have to say, look, we have a history here. We have not a lot of neighbors in support of this. And then it goes back to the city clerk's office, and that's where the files sit, the original files.
So
Kind of
would our
agree with
question
that,
be for
Stevens.
Clerk Jeffries?
Yeah.
Clerk Jeffries?
Yes, I'm muted. Yes, go ahead, Alder.
So our question would be, who would be notifying the residents around
yes.
this gentleman's neighborhood?
So I don't have access to those records from home. I'm home now.
Okay.
And so I can certainly inquire with Deputy Clerk Fugie tomorrow as to the location of the letters.
Okay.
That's important, because I know in the past and Alder Stevens is correct. I mean, I've been on this committee for a number of years, and whenever we had animal issues, it always seemed like there were folks on both sides of the issue there. So I think it's only fair that we have that feasibility for both pros and cons on that issue to be there. So I think
I'm sorry, Alder, if I can interject really quick, I can kind of shed a little light as to the difference of this. So there are two different things that can come in front of the committee: the denial of a permit for excess animals, and then also a dangerous dog declaration. And in those scenarios, that is when we typically have more witness testimony, because it's a quasi-judicial hearing, where been declared dangerous, and in those instances we have more witnesses, more neighbors show up, testify under oath as to whatever experiences are and evidence is, and that's different from this. This is just an appeal of a permit denial.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, that does help, because I know we've had those quasi-judicial before. So
I got one quick question for Officer Mavis.
Go ahead, Alder.
Officer Mavis, as far as your opinion, you feel this gentleman should not be given a permit for this third dog. Is that correct?
No, I denied the permit based on the numerous neighbor objections, essentially. I feel personally, in the capacity in which I work, that he has 3 dogs, that he has had no additional complaints since we had to go back and get him into compliance. We worked with him, we went over stuff to get these things corrected, and there hasn't been anything since. My professional opinion would be to approve the permit to allow him to have the 3 dogs, and if there was continued complaints, that I would then cite for the violations and potentially look at revoking the permit if it continued. But like I said, we have not had any continued violations since I went there in December and tried to get him into compliance with his stuff after he was issued notices in November. So I am simply denying the permit based on the number of neighbors that are in objection. They have to live around him with all these dogs.
Okay. That kind of sheds a light on it. In other words, the neighbors are not happy is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I feel like in this circumstance, he had ample opportunity to correct that, and this went on for some time, and the neighbors are fed up and they're like, absolutely not. So based on that, that's why this was denied. And I think it is imperative that those letters are read.
Yeah, I'd like to see those as well.
I would agree. That's why I'm requesting this to be held. Someone did not give us the proper information to make a final decision.
So with that being said, I would say that, so you'd have another 2 weeks or 3 weeks with our next meeting, April 12th. So we got 3 weeks. That would give Mr. Rodriguez ample time to really understand that, the eyes are watching him. Hate to say it like that, but, you'll have an opportunity to really shore it up and either have that fence working, have 3 collars, etc. And if that doesn't work, then we might have to talk about it in a different light. Alder Gerlach?
A question, so this has been denied. So when it's denied, you can have only 2 dogs. So does he have only 2 dogs on the premises at this time?
We didn't deny it yet.
Not
Well,
been
she
denied.
denied, oh, okay, when the officer denies it, is it denied? Or
No.
does it have to go to council to be denied?
No, it goes to our committee and then it goes to council.
Okay, so in other words, then, so for 3 more weeks, then he can be working on,
That's what
okay,
That's
thank
what I
you.
was saying. So if there's a stellar citizen with his dogs in the next 3 weeks, that'll bode well for him. That's my feeling. And Alder Stevens, I'm glad he brought that point up. So we do have a motion to hold to our next meeting, which is April 12th. And Alder Stevens, I'm going to be in New Mexico at that time, so you'll probably have to chair the meeting. So,
Okay.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Wait,
What?
hold on.
Let me go. You got to let me go on vacation once a year. What? No,
I may be here, but I'm in Vegas. We'll talk about it later.
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a motion by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
We do, Alder.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think he did say that. I digress here. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously 3-0. Alder LaFave had to leave.
Can I say something?
Well, we'll make a motion, open the floor quickly.
Yeah.
Motion from the floor.
Stevens, and seconded by
I
Vanderleest.
second it, Mark.
Okay, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez. The floor is now open. So what's your comment?
Well, my comment was when I first got the first ticket, I had to leave to Mexico because my sister died, and that's why I didn't get the permissions until I came back because I had to go to Mexico. And I explained the officer that I didn't know that my wife could get the permissions, and well, that's how she told me that my wife could get them, but I understood that it was on my name and I was the only one to get the permissions. So I spent all November and part of December in Mexico, and I came back and I couldn't go get them because I had to work.
Did anybody get a hold of you? I mean, you would think that somebody could contact you when you're in Mexico. You had telephone there?
Yeah, I had a telephone there, but I couldn't go downtown and get the permissions for the dogs because I wasn't here.
But Attorney Bungert, is that something that, I don't know. To me, it seems like you could have his wife or somebody else could have gone.
Yeah.
We still have the floor open. I'm sorry. I'll ask you in a second.
I'll make a motion to close the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vanderleest. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll discuss this.
I
Mr.
do have-
Rodriguez. Go
I
ahead.
have one comment.
Yes.
So we already chose to hold this until our next P&P meeting. So Mr. Rodriguez will need to come up with his defense in 2 by the 12th of April. So
Right. That sounds good. So we already voted on this, so.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Rodriguez, you got 3 weeks and we will discuss it again. I wish you all the best.
Yeah, and
So-
hello?
We can't talk anymore. The floor is now closed, so, we will discuss it in 3 weeks, but you've heard what you need to do. And just if you have any questions, you could, I don't know, Attorney Bungert, could you call onto the city if you had specific questions? You're muted.
Sorry. Yep. If he has specific questions, he can call the clerk's office with respect to the permit and the process.
Right. Okay, so Mr. Rodriguez, the floor is closed, but that number is 448-3014. So you can call there if you have questions. Okay, so that's done.
All right, wait, excuse me, Alder. That number is 448-3010.
Yeah, I think as soon as I said that, I realized it. I don't want, okay. We'll leave it at that. 448-3010. That's the number.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right. Next,
All right, item number 5.
number 5, to revisit with possible action the January 2020 ordinance dealing with the delivery of advertising materials often wrapped in plastic as an environmental nuisance and safety hazard. These materials are often distributed onto lawns and driveways of mostly residential units. Submitted by, who is this? Alder Mark Stoyer. Okay. I guess that's me. I can't escape. Anyway, we've had this before us before. Staff, I don't know if, you know, I could have the floor open right away because we had a Mr. Rob Miller had put together something and have him speak. I don't know, Attorney Bungert, if you had anything initially before we did that.
Yes, I actually would defer to Assistant City Attorney Rachel Mays, who's here to discuss the potential implications. So I'll defer to her whether she would like to address the committee first or have the constituent.
Okay.
Or
Attorney Mays, would you want to go first, or Attorney Mays, or Mr. Miller? That's up to you.
I had a chance to review the video from January of last year, but I think for the benefit of the committee, it might be beneficial to have Mr. Miller go first.
Okay. Mr. Miller.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. So
Okay.
just state your name and address for the record, and then you may continue.
Okay, Robert Miller, 131 South Van Buren Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I guess the first thing is the need, and I think I've addressed that adequately in my letters. We have a lot of littering all over the city. It looks horrible. It's a safety problem because people can trip over it. It injures personal property because people run over it with their snow blowers, damaging those. It's a complete disaster. I put in my materials, I put the promises of the city and its sustainability commission, as well as Gannett. Both promise to be environmentally responsible, and both have abdicated the responsibilities completely. Going back to the history here, and I'll go back to the history that predates the January 20th situation, because I think the status quo actually permits this to be resolved. But I spoke with Cheryl Renier-Wigg, who testified at the previous hearing, and I also spoke with Alderman Scannell prior to this meeting, today's meeting. And Cheryl Renier-Wigg once again recounted that she's made out entreaties to the Press Gazette, Gannett, and she and her staff tried to get the names of the entities and the persons who were doing the littering. The Press Gazette, Gannett, refused to give them the names. Thereafter, in 2018, Alderperson Scannell went and talked to them. Once again, the Press Gazette, Gannett, did not cooperate. So then I drafted the proposed ordinance, and frankly, I think upon the information I have, I think just the enforcement would suffice. And here, I've given the committee by an email this afternoon my logic in the enforcement mechanism. First of all, the city's ordinance with regard to litter is specifically designed to cover this circumstance, and it's a public nuisance. The case law, and I think even the city's ordinance says that a repeated violation of a city ordinance is a public nuisance. So we're in that category. In fact, the last portion of the ordinance that I cited indicates and prosecute Gannett and its agents as a public nuisance. Mr. Scannell raises the question about the independent contractor business. That's also often raised as a reason that the city cannot prosecute Gannett. I don't see that as a problem. And what I'm suggesting, quite honestly, here is that the city this committee and the city council hire an attorney to solve the problem. We don't need any more research done. We don't need any more studies. I think I put forward my ideas. If the attorney that's hired wants to run with those, that's fine. If the attorney wants to find something completely different, I am purely interested in having the problem solved, not having my ideas adopted. At this point, after 3 or 4 years, the problem has to be solved. So anyway, I've indicated, going back to the logic of the enforcement mechanism, the Wisconsin statutes confer jurisdiction on the circuit courts to deal with a public nuisance. And I believe that the city would in fact obtain a judgment to abate the nuisance. Now, let me gather my thoughts. The other aspect of this is that the city has never attempted to actually go to court and enforce the ordinance or any ordinance against Gannett, the Press Gazette. And I would emphasize here that that's an important aspect of this. At this juncture, I would think that the first threshold is to have an attorney look at the full scope of our possibilities. The city attorney's office has basically spent 12 to 14 months looking at my proposal. They don't have the time to look at it. And from other meetings that I've heard, they don't have the time to really devote their time, their efforts to these kinds of issues. They've spent a couple of years on the code of ethics. They've spent 3 years attempting to draft an ordinance for Mr. Galvin. They're overburdened at this point. I respect that situation.
Mr. Miller, in your estimation, so go ahead.
Well, that's what they're saying, and I'm taking them at their word. Right. I think it's time to hire someone to look at what does it take to solve this problem, and it's a festering in this city. When I'm out walking today I was out walking, and across $275,000 townhouses on North Van Buren, there's nothing more than a couple of these newspaper littering the terrace and the street. I think the time has come for the city to deal with the problem directly, not study it, hire somebody with a specific charge to solve the problem. I'm happy to answer any questions or respond to any comments.
Okay.
I got a question for Mr. Miller.
Yeah, go ahead, Alder.
Mr. Miller, do you think it would be wise for the city to start issuing some citations to Gannett News and make them pay up for all these violations? Have the city?
May I?
Yes.
I think that's within the scope of what I envision a hired attorney looking at. How to solve the problem? How to get Gannett Press Gazette to deal with this, and then start issuing citations and fines. And I would go to the circuit court, but apparently the municipal court is also possible. I think we have to deal with the Press Gazette Gannett in the same manner as Mr. Rodriguez and any other person who violates the city's ordinances.
Okay.
And right now,
just state of the case. Go ahead.
Okay, I think Gannett has not dealt with the city in good faith by the two episodes of Cheryl Renier-Wig and Alderperson Scannell, being rebuffed. And it's time that they became responsible of this city. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your testimony. Alder Stevens, anybody else have anything? I've talked with Mr. Miller in the past on this as well. And, Gannett, I mean, as far as I know, they're not based in Green Bay. So a lot of times when you have a corporation that is delivering papers, they're just not even in Green Bay as far as the office is. And that can cause some issue as well. So Attorney Mays, do you have something you can follow up with?
Yeah, so I've had an opportunity to review Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, okay. Well,
Motion
we
to
might
close
have,
the floor.
yeah, we might have some other questions, but we'll open it, Mr. Miller, if we feel that we should. So do we have a motion to close the floor?
Second.
Okay, Stevens, and then seconded by Vanderleest. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, go ahead, Attorney Mays.
So I had a chance to review Attorney Miller's proposed ordinance. I've had a chance to look at the case law. So when Mr. Miller asserts that the law department hasn't had a chance to review his proposal, I have reviewed it. I have reviewed the case law. And it's a real slippery slope when we start regulating the content via legislation. So if our ordinance isn't content neutral, we have to live up to strict scrutiny from a judicial, burden standpoint. So under strict scrutiny, we have the city has to establish a compelling government interest, and our ordinance has to be the least restrictive means to accomplish those interests. So if we start making restrictions based on the content, so if you have to read the document in order to know whether it applies to our ordinance, that's content-based. The way our ordinance is currently written, and I was actively involved the last time that this was revised, it's content neutral. It talks about leaflets, it talks about debris, it talks about refuse, but it doesn't talk about the content. We're not specifically regulating advertisements. We're not specifically regulating commercial speech. It just applies to whatever's on those leaflets, whatever's on the garbage. It all applies equally. It's content neutral, which gives us more latitude. When it's content neutral, intermediate scrutiny comes into effect. That's the burden that we have to meet. So at that point, we only have to provide an ordinance that meets important government interests. And instead of being the least restrictive means possible to do that, our ordinance only has to not substantially burden speech more than is necessary. So it doesn't have to be the least restrictive means. Now, in this case, the big issue comes down to the independent contractor situation. And I know that Attorney Miller is frustrated that we keep bringing that up, but there's a 2017 Court of Appeals case that I found. It's unpublished, but it was out of Milwaukee that the Gannett affiliated newspaper delivery person crashed into somebody else, and that person sued Gannett. So we've got bigger damage, more at stake. It went to the circuit court. It got appealed to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals per curiam decided in 2017 that because this is an independent contractor situation, because the contract states independent contractor, because the driver has the ability to control when and how they deliver the papers, it's not Gannett who we can hold accountable. So I've been a prosecutor my entire legal career, and if I could go after Gannett for this rubbish, I would. And when we're talking about repeat ordinance violations being nuisances, that falls under our municipal code. That's not something that's going to be brought to the circuit court. The circuit court has a finite list of violations that qualify as nuisances under state statute. So if Gannett was the one who was throwing the newspapers on people's aprons or on their driveway, I would absolutely encourage citations be written against Gannett. But the fact of the matter is they hire independent contractors to run their routes. And unless we catch those independent contractors, it's really difficult to enforce our ordinance, which I think is a sound ordinance. And I think that it's content neutral, it's smartly written, but yes, it's difficult. It's difficult to hold them accountable because these drivers are coming through at 4 in the morning And we can't go after Gannett because they're using independent contractors. So, I mean, the last time that we revised this ordinance, I met with inspections. I met with Cheryl Rainier Wig. There were a number of us who were working on this situation and this issue, and it is a problem. But I mean, Attorney Miller's suggestion to hire an attorney to look at this and solve it. I'm an attorney. I work for the city. We've had other members of the law department weigh in on this. So I don't know that hiring an attorney to fix the problem is going to solve it. We've had multiple lawyers look at this issue. We've had people in inspections and in economic development take a look at this issue, and our ordinance is the best solution that we've been able to come up with.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alder Stevens.
Refresh my memory. Has the city reached out? I might backtrack. When you keep saying, you know, Gannett, is that the only newspaper company that we're having issues with? Like how many newspaper companies are throwing these advertisements up onto the lawns?
As far as I'm aware, it's only Gannett.
Okay. So did the city reach out to Gannett to try to have them work with us?
Yes, multiple times.
And what's happening with that?
No response.
So if that's the case, I'm going to throw out $50,000. We paid Gannett $50,000 to do our publications. Why are we not looking at the other publications in the city to bring our business to? Why are we still giving money to Gannett? Because they're not willing to help us.
The Green Bay Press Times, for example. So
Yeah, or whatever newspaper companies out there.
That's a good point.
I know that the Village of Hobart, they actually pay for a subscription for all of their residents so that they can use the Press Times as their mode for public notices, so that everyone gets the notices that are sent out. I mean, that's a policy decision. That's not a legal decision.
That's a good idea, Alder Stevens.
I think we need to take a look at it and pull that away from them. So,
well, that's an opportunity or an idea. Bill Pappy's here too, Inspector. I like your hi. You got a G on top of your head there. It looks really nice. I don't know if you did that by design, but I'll accept that. But can we just
thank you, Attorney.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you were finished yet, but that's a good point, Alder Stevens. Mr. Pappy, could you just, you were nodding your head too, so I know that inspection often has to deal with this type of thing. So I don't know if you can just give us a brief description of your experience with this over the years. I don't see a whole lot in my neighborhood. It's not it seems to be maybe a little more saturated in the downtown area. I don't know. Maybe you could fill me in a little bit as far as your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of all over the place, Alder Stoyer, and believe me, we're just as passionate about wanting to solve the issue as Attorney Mays and Attorney Miller and every other resident we've talked to.
Yep. Well, you're very loud. I mean, it's coming in really loud. Could you just maybe back up a little bit? Sorry.
I sure can. How's that?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Go ahead.
I myself have reached out to the Press Gazette and Gannett on multiple occasions. This was several years ago, have not had any luck. Talked to several people directly. The information that they give me, I pass along to the residents. They follow that and they still continue to get the newspapers. Everything Attorney Mays laid out, we've tried and we've attempted. It's just really, really difficult to catch these independent contractors, to hold them accountable. If there's any other ideas and suggestions, believe we're open to it. We want to do our part to remedy the situation, because it's a lot of resources that we spend on trying to get it cleaned up. So.
What is as far as you go, I'll get you in a second, Alder Gerlach. What is, I lost my train here. What our ordinance right now, Mr. Pappy, what effectiveness do we have with the ordinance in your estimation?
As Attorney Mays said, there's no problem with the wording. It's the fact that they have an independent contractor that is the one that we have to catch in the act and hold accountable to, that's causing the violation. Yes, Gannett's name is on the publication, but they're not the one that's, creating the act of the that's causing the nuisance, that's causing the littering. That's who we have to hold accountable to. It wouldn't be fair for me to go and do a lot cleanup on a property that they don't want the newspaper, because they're the only one that I would have held accountable to, is if there's litter on your property, you have to pick it up. But we're just as frustrated. We've been trying for years to try to find a solution, and we've yet to find one yet, besides holding independent contracts.
I'd like to know what other communities might be doing on this as well. Mr. Miller, we probably will open the floor again, so just be patient. But,
I have another question. I don't know who it would be for. So.
Well, hold on a second. Alder Gerlach had her hand, and then I'll get you. Go ahead, Alder Gerlach.
Thank you. I'm not on the committee, so
Well, either way, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alder Stevens.
So we're talking about these third-party contractors are throwing these papers out there. Well, they're basically a vendor. Why don't the city get them permitted, where they have to come and apply for a permit to throw these leaflets out? Do we have anything on the books now?
We don't, as far as permitting people for distributing that, but when we start getting into that, the First Amendment protections come into play. And if we require people to have a permit in order to hand out leaflets, then that invokes all kinds of different speech. And then we start looking at the content in order to specifically target the advertising versus political speech or religious speech or anything like that. That's when we start getting into the burden that we have to meet, as far as it being a compelling interest or a substantial or important interest.
So
the reason why I bring it up is it seems like we're having an issue trying to catch these people that are doing it. We don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Right.
And to try to solve the problem would be to make them accountable and make them come to the city to get some type of permit,
but
which allowing the city to throw these newspapers.
Right.
For example.
My concern would be, in order to do that, the city would first have to say it is impermissible to hand out leaflets. Then the exception is unless you come to the city and pay in order to get a permit. So that initial limitation of speech, that's where the problem is.
Okay.
What about putting the papers, not throwing them, but putting them in a paper box of some sort?
I think that our ordinance does allow that right now, that if there's a box, if it's on the porch, if it's in a storm door, those are all acceptable receptacles for that item.
So if you did that, at least you'd avoid the trouble that I've seen with broken snow blowers and people tripping and all that kind of stuff. And
right, the behavior we're seeing is currently illegal. I mean, when they throw it out the window and it's on the driveway, that's illegal. When it's on the apron, that's illegal. But the issue is finding the person to issue the citation to. Who do we issue the citation to? We can't issue it to Gannett.
So
we have to find the independent contractor.
So you can't give they can't get a permit. I mean, I kind of like what Alder Stevens was saying, but you're bringing up all of this, saying that it's a First Amendment issue and all that. I mean, we're looking at just, health and safety, as far as the content, whatever's in there is in there. Heads are shaking.
But there is a difference if we're regulating commercial speech versus political speech versus religious speech. I mean, there's different kinds of speech, and we can't just blanket say that people can't hand out leaflets.
I'm going to have Alder Gerlach, and then Mr. Miller will get you in a second. Be patient. Go ahead, Alder Gerlach.
Okay, 3 things. Number 1, we cannot infringe on free speech. That's out. We can't do that. That's what the attorney said. That's by making someone pay to put out a flyer, you're infringing on First Amendment rights. So that's out. Secondly, I want to mention that it's It's not just about these guys throwing them on the sidewalks and the driveways. I'm sorry. When I moved back to Green Bay, called Gannett 4 times and said, stop delivering that damn thing to my newspaper tube. I don't want it. I don't want to recycle it. And I don't want the city of Green Bay to have to recycle it. 4 times they told me it would be stopped. It was never stopped. I took a brick and wrapped it in paper and wrote a note on there and said, don't put your newspaper in here. And it stopped. That is ridiculous to have to do that. So what I'm saying is it's not just littering. It's that they're not, that message from Gannett, they told me, oh yes, we'll stop it. They never got that out. But now my third point is, are you saying who has to catch this person? Because I will tell you, if somebody were throwing that on my driveway on a regular basis, I would personally find out when it was being delivered and I would be there and I would meet him. Could I do it, or does it have to be the police?
Attorney Mays?
It could be anyone. I mean, we need to have evidence. So
Why
if
aren't
there's a
people-
private citizen who sits,
It would make me so mad. I'd be out there in a heartbeat. Why aren't people catching them?
yeah, if we have photos, yeah, if we have photos of driver's license, the photo of who it was, I mean, we could use that to identify who's the person violating the ordinance.
Let's start a movement to do it.
All right, I'll have you lead the charge.
So I'm gonna backtrack. I think it's very, very important that we look at that contract with Gannett regarding our publication. That needs to be pulled. I don't know when that contract's expired. I know that I think we signed on it last year or whatever, so that contract should be expiring soon. I think it needs to be pulled. That $50,000 that we're paying to Gannett needs to stop.
If I may just interject.
And I don't know what committee or what department would be in charge of that, but I think it needs to be looked at and it needs to come to a stop.
Alder Stevens,
one more
that was
time.
one of the very first things that was voted on when I became an alder on April 20th of last year. So it's going to come up soon, and I'll bet he knows all about it.
Okay.
You know, the press times may be a little more expensive, but I think it'd be well worth it. Gannett's not working with us.
Okay.
So it's time to stop spending tax dollars on Gannett.
All right, well spoken. I'm gonna have a motion to open the floor. All the
Motion to open the floor.
By Vanderlee, second by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Mr. Miller, you've been very patient. Thank you for, I thought you were doing an exercise routine there for a minute.
I was doing exercise. Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, I agree with most of what Attorney Mays said. I think the better approach, as I said in my presentation, is to enforce the ordinances on the books. But I also think that there might be other possible avenues. I've suggested in my letter to the city council that we should not be subsidizing Gannett, and we should have an ordinance that makes it impermissible for anyone to bid on our public notice contract if you're littering or contracting with people to litter within the city of Green Bay. It's that simple. I suggest we hire somebody to draft that ordinance and get going on it. Second of all, I don't want to enter the First Amendment realm at all. I'm looking at the current ordinance or something that I haven't considered at all. And I would just make the observation that it takes a carpenter to build a house, but anybody can tear it down. And right now, there is no viable suggestion that the city of Green Bay has had for 3 or 4 or 5 years to solve this problem. That's my concern here. Now, the case that Attorney Mays cited, I have not read. Generally, if it's an unpublished opinion, it has no precedential value and you can't cite it in a court case. I frankly think that we have a respectful difference of opinion with regard to independent contractors. I spoke with another attorney who has about 45 years of experience and is a local municipal judge today. He agreed with me that if somebody hires somebody, let's suppose I hire somebody to dump a whole bunch of paper on Mark Stoyer's driveway and do that repeatedly, I'm gonna be cited as well as the person who's doing it. Or if I hire somebody to kill somebody in a criminal law setting, we're all gonna be responsible. I just respectfully disagree with Attorney May's conclusion here, and I think it should be investigated by another attorney. What we're looking for here is a solution to the problem. I have been diligent enough to put forward suggested solutions. It's time for the city of Green Bay to come forward with some solutions. This is a tremendously frustrating problem. Now, with regard to Alderperson Gerlach's question about why these people are not being cited, I've had a couple of discussions with Cheryl Renyer-Wig, and from my own personal observation, these people are distributing the litter in the middle so they can't be caught. It's purposely done to evade the populace's notice, and Gannett has to know this. And if they don't know it, they should be, we've had representatives testify today and previously that they've been contacted about this. They know full well what's going on. They're contracting with these people knowing that they're breaking ordinances. That has to yield some culpability. So I think that what I'm focusing on here is solving a problem, not coming up with some reasons why. And when you look elsewhere in Brown County or elsewhere in Wisconsin, this problem doesn't seem to be, other people seem to have solved this problem. It's beyond me as to why the city of Green Bay can't come up with a solution. I put forward my ideas.
Mr. Miller, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
You're saying that other areas of the state or other communities have done this. In your research, have you found any others that have succeeded here?
No, I'm just suggesting that when I drive elsewhere, I'm not seeing the
Okay, well,
level of litter. I haven't.
Right.
I think contacting League of Wisconsin Municipalities would be a good start. For our staff to contact other Wisconsin municipal entities would be a nice start to see if they've dealt with it. I put forward the ordinance from California. If it's got First Amendment problems, that's fine. Let's disregard the First Amendment question. Let's focus on the litter question. Let's focus on making sure that if you want the public notice contract of the city of Green Bay, you're not going to be participating in littering. That doesn't have a First Amendment problem.
Well, I've heard suggestions tonight. Alder Stevens brought up a very good one. It's hitting you in the pocketbook. So maybe changing publications, and I would hope that there's the Green Bay Press, because the Press Times doesn't do the same thing. I'm not saying they would, but I'm just saying that that's always a possibility with another newspaper. But I like your point about the League of Municipalities, Mr. Miller. Those are
I have another question too.
For Mr. Miller.
It might be Mr. Miller or Rachel Mays.
Well, okay, the floor's still open, so.
Sure, I know, but can we put in the ordinance a time frame, 7 till 5 at night? You have delivery companies, they don't come knocking your door until about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And they're done by 8 o'clock at night.
I don't understand the question. I'll let.
No, my question is, delivery companies, they come to your door. They're not knocking at your door at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're knocking 7 till 8 o'clock at night. Why can't we do that across the board for leaflets and newspapers and whatever else in the city?
I question whether you can limit, somebody just putting something on a porch at 5 in the morning if they want to. It would probably impact political candidates and like more than the Press Gazette. I don't think that's going to solve the problem. I think I see the problem as Gannett and its agents have a complete disregard for this community and have no respect for the city of Green Bay, its city council, and its mayor and its citizenry. And they have gotten away with this. They have thumbed they have actually challenged the city of Green Bay, and the city of Green Bay has backed down for 4 or 5 years. And my position is on my ideas, then somebody come forward with a solution to solve this problem. I'm not looking for any personal glory that you have to adopt my suggestions. I am looking for a solution to this problem, and the mere idea that we're asking people to pay $275,000 in the and stare at a newspaper litter in the street is preposterous. It's insulting, and quite honestly, it's opposite my street, my house as well. The idea that we're all impotent, that we can't challenge Gannett and Gatehouse Media is lunacy.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. My comment would be, so sounds like we have issues across both sides. How about if we were to able to do what the Green Bay Police Department did, slow down Green Bay? Why cannot we do a campaign to make everybody in the city be aware we need your help regarding litter? And we get it out there and say, hey, if you're out there, if you have security cameras on your properties and there's papers, look at your cameras for us. We need that information.
Good point.
May I respond?
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna have Mr. Pappy.
I mean, if we're in an impasse where the city isn't going to do anything, I mean, one of the things that I'm thinking.
No,
you're locking up
during the summer on days. Okay, can you?
Well, yeah, you're locking up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, is it working now?
Well, a little bit. Mr. Miller, could you hold off a second, and maybe I'd like to have Mr. Pappy just weigh in. Can you hold? You're frozen right now.
Certainly.
Okay. So
okay,
Mr.
let
Miller,
me.
Can you hold up? Well, I'd like Mr. Pappy to weigh in real quickly. Can you hold on a second? Okay, Mr. Pappy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, when Mr. Miller was talking and Mr. Alder Stevens, everybody's looking for a solution. One of the ideas I had popped in my head, has Mr. Miller, anybody given any thought to possibly taking a civil action against Gannett? I mean, if they have enough people that that are receiving these things, that they can document their civil nuisance that's happening, much like any civil matter that would get contested between property owners. If your neighbor infringes on your rights and they do something, a civil matter, that you would take some action against them. Sounds to me that there would be a lot of evidence that you could have, and a lot of people that are receiving those things that could be a possible solution.
Can I?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Miller. Do you have a point?
With regard to the way I see this is, I'll address Mr. Poppy's question, but the way I see this as being prosecuted by the city is that they go after Gannett, hold a deposition of Gannett to tell the city once and for all who the people are, the company is that distributes it, and who the employees are, and cite those people. So that's the way we finally get the information, by taking these people, beat Gannett or not, we will find out who the entity is that is distributing the leaflets. They have not been willing to give Cheryl Renya-Wig or anyone else that information, and that is the way to get that information legally and without too much of a problem. With regard
Mr. Miller,
yeah.
Do you have an idea of what something like that might cost? I realize it's kind of an open-ended question, but how much, if the city went after Gannett, I mean, there's costs like anything else, and we've had what's that?
It's minuscule compared to the damages that.
Well, it would be nice to have a handle on that, because we've dealt with our share of lawsuits over time, and it's just another layer. So anyway, just a comment.
Yeah. Okay.
So answer Mr. Pappy's. What's your take on Mr. Pappy's?
I don't know if I'm. Yeah, Mr. Pappy, I've thought about that. I would prefer not to pay the $265 plus the service fees out of my pocket. I would, as a person who's paying $5,000 or $6,000 in taxes, I first appealed to the city to do something. With regard to Mr. Pappy's specific question, I of course have done that. We had a problem at 812 Doty Street. Both Alderman Stoyer and Alderman Scannell attended the meeting on that. I wrote a letter to the landlords threatening a private news, and within 2 weeks later, the problem was solved. So I think it's entirely possible to do that. I don't have the treasury that the city of Green Bay has at this point. But if need be, if that's the only way we get it done, I am going to perhaps host a party where we have a Reno and try to catch the people. And two, I will file a private lawsuit to solve this problem myself. But quite honestly, with 101,000 people in the city of Green Bay and almost 2,000 employees, the idea that the city is impotent to solve this problem is, as I said, lunacy.
Okay, well spoken. All right, any other comments for Mr. Miller? Otherwise, we'll close the floor again and discuss.
Motion to close the floor.
Okay, by Vanderleest, second. By Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes unanimously. All very good points. I like Alder Stevens' talk about possibly looking at other funding sources instead of Gannett. That's one thing. You hit them in the pocketbook, that's one thing. I like Mr. Miller's idea for a neighborhood party. I'd go to that. You know, we just have to let them know on certain terms that this is unacceptable. So I'm not sure exactly, you know, if our ordinance is as effective as it can be right now, because I know you talked about content neutral information, Rachel, and a few other things. Alder Gerlach brought up a couple of ideas as well. You know, I don't want that stuff in my front porch either. So, and they don't listen. You know, Mr. Pappy said that they've tried in their office many times. So, Mr. Miller's frustrated. I understand it. He wants to see a solution. So, committee, do you have anything in forward? Ms. Rachel?
Well, whether evidence comes forward through the police department, through private citizens, through a neighborhood party, if there's evidence of one of these independent contractors caught in the act, I would happily and eagerly prosecute that citation. It's just a matter of catching them in the middle of the night. I mean, people like to have their newspapers delivered for them to have their morning coffee. That's why they deliver it in the middle of the night. My first job ever was delivering newspapers. If it's not there by 7 o'clock, people get upset. So while they're running these routes, that's when they're throwing these advertisements out their car windows. But if anyone brings forward that evidence, I would eagerly prosecute that citation.
Well, that's okay. Well, that's good to hear. But like I said, we got to make some kind of a determination with the committee here how to move forward. So, Alder Stevens, do you have some thoughts on that? You kind of brought up one thing, and I don't, this is kind of a multi-pronged approach here. So, I don't even. I'm really not sure how to.
I think
proceed. There
has to be some solution to this. There has to be.
Of course. But like I said, there's a couple different ways to look at it. We could have.
I think we have a couple different avenues that needs to be looked at. I really do think a campaign will help. I know it's not what everybody's looking for, but we need to get it out there that the city's kind of tied. Mr. Miller, he wants a resolution to this. I think a lot of people do. But I think there's a couple different things that we all need to be working on at the same time. That contract and pulling that funds from Gannett, that will need to go to one department to see when that contract will expire, or if we can cancel it now. If we can cancel it now, I think it'd be great. And then also I think the campaign needs to be started, informing people that we need your help.
Okay.
And also I think look at the ordinance, see if we can make it a little stiffer. I don't know.
Okay.
A civil suit, a lot of people will probably jump on board. It'll take a lot of time to do. And a lot of manpower just to make it happen, just to get Gannett to wake up.
Right.
It's not about, it's about the citizens of Green Bay. That's what that's what it's about.
The health and safety issue as far as I'm concerned, so.
Right.
Alder
And
Gerlach.
Mr. Miller is really passionate about this. I'm glad on it. But it's about the citizens of Green Bay. It's the tax dollars. We're paying $50,000 to Gannett. It needs to stop.
Well, there's 4 good points you brought up. I wrote those down, so we'll discuss that shortly. Attorney Gerlach. I keep calling you attorney.
Wow,
Alder.
finally, I get recognized.
Jeez, there's too much going on. Okay. Alder Gerlach.
I've been, as I listened to what Alder Stevens is saying just now, it occurred to me, we should write Gannett a letter and say, if you don't choose to put an end to this, we're going to have to think about moving to a different publication for our official publication. And then I wondered, we've done a lot of resolutions lately. Maybe you don't want a solution, but maybe that's what it takes. Maybe the council at the next meeting needs to pass a resolution unanimously that we will not renew our, whatever it is, our agreement with the Press Gazette to be our official newspaper unless Gannett puts an end to this by the time it's time for renewal, and put it in their hands. I'm sure they can do it if they want to.
Boy,
that would be a Rachel Mays question.
Yeah.
That'd be attorney's question.
Yeah, go ahead. Attorney, what do you think of that?
It's something that the council could absolutely do.
Yeah.
I mean, they could write a letter as a unanimous body or a unified body at least. And economic development and inspection haven't been able to get that information, but maybe the strength of the Common Council would be able to get that information from them.
Mr. Miller, we'll get to you. We're still close, so just be patient. Also, some very good ideas. So, and I know Alder Gerlach, you've written some resolutions. I've written a few in my day as well, or worked on them. I'm more than willing to work on something like this as well with the help of the committee. If you'd like to do that, I could see some kind of a resolution coming forward from this committee. It's going to take a little while to put it together, but I think that's a motion that we can make moving forward. And I think that's a good first step.
If I may
make one comment, Mark.
We have it written tomorrow.
We have to have it written tomorrow.
We can have it written tomorrow if the attorney thinks that's the way to go.
No, I'll work on that too.
If that's the wise thing to do.
And I'll ask Mr. Miller as well.
Yeah, I understand that. I'd like to open the floor again.
I got one quick question. I want to just make a more.
Go ahead.
Mark.
Go ahead, Alder.
I think the private contractors, I think they have to be cited and given a citation. That sends a message as well to Gannett's newspaper that, their employees are doing a poor job. They're not being responsible. And I think if we catch a few of them and get the citations, make whatever the citation would be, that they have to pay it. And if they can't pay it, then we should go after the company that hired them. I don't know how that would work, but I think that we should get some of these people that are throwing this in the street, on the sidewalks, on the grass, get them cited, and then go after Gannett as well. But that's all I got. I'll make a motion to open the floor.
All right. Second by Stevens. Okay, this will be the last time. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Miller, your last shot here. What do you think? Go ahead. I'm not killing democracy, am I?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go
okay.
ahead.
In my most recent letter, I suggested that the city, the mayor and the city attorney write a letter. If it's the Common Council joining together, so much the better. I view this as a potential public relations debacle for Gatehouse Gannett, and I don't think this avenue has adequately been explored. I think Alderman Stevens was reaching that with regard to his campaign. I think that has to be done, and I think Gatehouse Gannett could be brought into compliance just by embarrassment. And I think that, no, I'm serious.
I'm not laughing. I'm just.
They are trying to sell newspapers. This is a public relations debacle in the making, and perhaps they will see the light if they have to deal with the city council and the mayor in a letter. So I fully endorse that. I think it should be done forthwith. Thank you.
One other point, Mr. Miller, as far as this information being, they throw it on the lawns and the driveways, all that kind of stuff. If they put it in your newspaper box, is that an issue at all? I mean, a lot of people don't even want it. But
well, I think people should have the option to opt out. That there should be an enforceable opt out mechanism, and that's what the Fremont, California ordinance had. Is that if you put up a sign saying you don't want it, they can't deliver it. But that's that we don't have to reach that at this point. We just have to get to the point where the momentum is started, so that Gannett has to start paying attention to the city of Green Bay. I think if that happens, we've accomplished something.
Okay. All right. Well spoken. Thank you for your input. We will close the floor. And do we have a motion for that?
Motion to close the floor.
By Stevens and seconded by Vanderleest. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Well,
I think our motion will be.
Go ahead.
3 parts, roughly.
Okay. Well, you brought up some good points, so have at it.
So I think we need to make a motion to refer to staff and also to refer to common council for the resolution. So the first one would be the resolution, which sounds like a couple of the alders would be willing to do that. The second would be to look at the contract regarding Gannett on our publications. We're talking 5 years here. We probably gave them $200,000 already. So I feel like that just needs to come to an end. We need to look for a different place. They're not helping us, not helping our citizens of Green Bay. So I think that contract needs to be looked at. And if we can end it, let's end it now. If not, let's end it at the end of the expiration of the contract, which I think that may need to go to the attorney's office to review that contract. I don't know. And I also think the campaign needs to be done. And that may need to go to inspections or somewhere to start that campaign.
Well, Attorney Bungert, what do you think? Or Attorney Mays, either way. These are all good points, but we have to kind of put it in a format moving forward. So
So I can speak to the resolution and to refer to staff. I guess, is the referral to staff to review the ordinance and further, or is it essentially just to refer to staff for the creation of a resolution?
Well, in the past, though, we've done resolutions where some of the alders will just do a resolution and bring it forward to a committee. So I don't even know if, I'm willing to work on that. And Alder Gerlach, you said you might have a few minutes tomorrow. Would you help?
I mean it when I say I can have it done tomorrow.
Well, I'd like to be part of that too.
The question is, can this committee, somehow, can we get this, move it so that it can be ready and can be on the council agenda the next meeting?
Yes, I would say that we'll have the resolution in hand for council. So that would be part of the motion that, we will deliver a resolution for council's disposal next week. So that's,
sure.
that's
the resolution, if it's drafted, it'll just need to be formatted by staff before placed on the agenda. The only caveat is that this item in the report for the action of the resolution will need to be by council in order for council to take up the actual draft of the resolution. So it can be on the agenda, but if for whatever reason this item fails to pass and to get support at the whole council level, then the resolution will not be considered. The draft itself will not be considered for adoption.
Okay, well, I still think we'll bring it forward. So the resolution, Alder Gerlach and I, and anybody else that wants to work on that, and probably when I'm finished with that, I'll contact Mr. Miller as well, and just he's done a lot of work on this as well, so I appreciate all his efforts. So
Mr. Miller needs to be willing to do it.
Well,
I'm on board.
Okay, well, good. I know your number by heart, by the way.
Okay.
So the second part of it would be to look at the current contract with Gannett.
Okay.
Who do we
Correct.
refer that to?
That can be a referral to staff. So I have referred to staff to create a resolution with the understanding that Alders Gerlach and Alder Stoyer will be doing the drafting. It just for consistency's sake, it should be referred to staff. The staff is ultimately going to need to format it and place it on the agenda. So it's a motion to create a resolution expressing the city's concerns to Gannett newspapers and to review the current contract with Gannett as to ability to cancel or terminate that contract.
That come back to protection and policy, the first or second meeting of April.
It depends on how quickly we can review that contract.
So would it be best if we tell you to bring it back to our second PNP meeting in April?
We can, sure.
I would be okay with that.
Well, of course, Alder Stevens and myself are going to be gone on April 19th. So we're going to.
No, 19, I'm here the 19th. You said the 12th earlier.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, the 12th. Well, no, I will be gone on the 12th and the 19th, but the 12th is the meeting. I will be gone on the 12th, and you will too, right?
Possibility I may not be here.
Okay, well, we'll have to work it out. I'll talk to.
But the 19th, I'm definitely here.
Excuse
Yes,
me.
go ahead, Alder Gerlach.
It's
I put
important.
April 19th as the report back date for the contract review.
Okay.
It's important when this contract ends, because I think it might end in April. We need to find that out.
Right. That will be
Okay.
part of the contract.
Okay, well, that'll
So
be.
okay, that's a good question, Lynn. So can we make also put in there that if this contract is expiring, that no new contract will be signed until protection policy reviews the situation? Because we don't want a staff member or the mayor to sign the contract.
Right. I don't think that contract just automatically gets approved. And
No,
I would
we have to
defer that.
approve.
Right. Because of the threshold amount, I think that comes to council for approval. So I
Okay.
don't think
Yes,
that.
I think it does. So we still have to.
I'm throwing it out there because I'm fairly new at this, so I'm.
Oh, you're
learning.
doing well. You're doing fine. Thank you. Okay, well.
And then the third part, I think the campaign we should look at and get that concreted out and get it out to the citizens.
So I don't know what.
And I don't know what department that would go to.
So
Inspections.
for that last part, I would defer to whether that's something that can be, whether that would be something feasible as far as utilizing our neighborhood associations, or what kind of informational distribution we've made.
Yeah, I'll ask Bill about that, but I mean, we've got a couple of things going on here. Don't you think having a resolution and also looking at the payment that Gannett makes to us, or we make to them, I should say, wouldn't that be enough for now? And then if we decide to have the campaign, we can move forward maybe in a month or so? Do we have to do it all at once?
Yeah, but the campaign, I think, would be feasible. Like Rachel Mays, Attorney Mays was saying that if we can get these citizens to find out what these vendors are, she would start working on it right away.
Attorney Mays?
And start doing citations.
So the sooner the
I
better,
agree
Attorney
with the
Mays?
citations. Get the citations going.
Yeah.
And make somebody accountable. Nobody's been accountable at this point at all. So accountability
Okay.
means everything.
All right. I stand back. Good points. All right.
I'll make a comment. Gannett's not helping us. It's time for us to be like, we're coming. We're coming. And we have all these different avenues that we're going to be throwing at you to help to get them to realize we need your help. Our citizens need our help.
Right.
So I think every avenue that we can come up with, we need to throw it out there. So
So if we're referring this out, then Bill, Mr. Pappy, is that something that your department would be willing to work with us, the committee?
I'm a little confused as far as the camp. I mean, we've been,
Well,
yeah, we have it out there. I mean, we've been doing this for a while. If any, what mechanisms are you wanting us to like get the word out to the citizens?
well,
Well, I think Facebook's a big one. We kind of mimic what the police department does. Facebook, slow down Green Bay. They talked about it. They got it out there. You may need to tap on the mayor's shoulder when you're on the morning news. You need to talk about the situation. It needs to get out there. So whatever campaign you want, if you want to do a logo, a slogan, come up with something.
Talk radio would be good. Talk
Yeah,
radio
there's
would be
another
good.
one.
Hold on.
I don't know if you want
like a campaign
on talk radio. So,
I'm going to be on talk radio on Thursday. So
Bring it up, Mark.
I could talk it up.
But I will pass the message along if we can get our neighborhood associations, our neighborhood specialists. I believe we have an outreach team. I will pass that word along to Cheryl and see what we can do as far as spreading that word.
I think working with the neighborhood associations would be big on this. So,
and I think you should return back to us with a game plan on the 19th of April. It's 30 some days away. So.
Well, I see your head shaking. All the Gerlach.
I think you're making a mistake. I think that you don't go out and have a public campaign against someone with whom the city has a contract. When the contract is over, then you have, then it's different. But I just don't, we are under contract with them right now. And
Lynn,
I just don't think it would be smart to ask people to try to undermine them when we are still under contract with them.
They're not caring about us.
This could end in April if we had a different newspaper that we contracted with. That might be the end of the contract. Can you do that? Can you have a public campaign against them? What?
Yeah, go ahead, Stevens.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, Lynn, but Lynn, we're focusing on the third-party vendor that Gannett contracts with.
Okay.
Gannett is not following suit, so we're looking at ending their contract regarding our publication.
We have to be careful then that the Gannett name isn't part of that.
It wouldn't be, I don't think.
You don't care if it is. You don't care if it is. They're not helping the city. They're littering the whole city.
Yeah, I like.
And they don't have any accountability. They don't care. They haven't returned phone calls. They haven't done a thing.
Okay, duly noted.
So the campaign would be to get the third-party vendors that are physically throwing in the papers. That's who we need, not Gannett at this point in time regarding that.
Yeah, we'll keep
Gotcha, Craig. Good.
We'll keep that out. That's a good point. Good points, man. I'm proud of you guys. I really am. All right. So where are we at now, Attorney Bunger? I think we've made a few things, sir. Stated a few things. Attorney Alder Gerlach and I will work on the resolution tomorrow. We'll have something in hand by tomorrow. Okay. What time, Lynn? I'll be up.
We have a meeting at 4:30 tomorrow, Personnel and Finance, so we'll be done before that.
All right. So I'll give you a call. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock in the morning.
Tomorrow morning, and I'll send you something by email. You can tell me when you want to meet. Okay.
I'm ready anytime.
Okay. I'll call you at 5 tomorrow morning.
All right. Go ahead, Attorney Bunger.
Yes. So I currently have the motion to refer to staff to create a resolution expressing the city's concerns to Gannett newspapers and to review the current contract with Gannett as to ability to cancel or terminate or not renew, and to refer to inspections as to creation of a possible public campaign concerning these issues, and to report back on both of those things for the April 19th meeting.
Committee, does that sound good? I think it sounds good to me. Okay, so did we vote on this yet? I don't think so.
No, that's just the
So
motion.
that's the motion. Okay, so do we have who?
Need a
Alder
second.
Stevens, that's your motion, correct?
Mhm.
And Alder Vanderleest, do you second that?
Second.
Okay.
Second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, that passes unanimously. This is very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your input, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Yep. All right. So we're moving on now, right? I know Lieutenant Allen's been very patient.
We're in the laundry room.
What's that?
I'm sorry, my husband was for the kids' blankets because they were in the laundry room. Too many things
Well,
going on at one time.
You're
Okay, so
multitask, I know.
yeah. Too many plates in the air. So we are on to the liquor violation report for March 22nd.
All right, so Lieutenant Allen, this is always one of our favorite parts of the meeting, you know?
Yes, at the end of the night.
No pressure on you.
No. So from March 8th, 2021 through March 22nd, 21, there were no liquor law violations, no ordinance violations, no DA referrals, but there was one property referral and 2 written warnings. March 9th this year, property referral was issued to TNT Holdings LLC. That's the old Fuzzies out on West Mason there. TNT Sports Bar and Grill reference a disturbance between the owner, Troy Piontek, and an employee, Jonathan Mouse. Officers arrived at TNT Sports Bar and Grill. The owner, Troy, was found to be intoxicated while tending the bar. Disturbance had ensued with the employee, Jonathan. Let's see, both were issued written warnings for disorderly conduct and a property referral was issued. Outside of that, that's all we had this month.
Okay, so in a case like that, does the bar stay open or what?
Yeah, the bar is currently open. Our community police officers were out there, made contact with Troy. We're working through some issues right now with them, so.
All right, well, good luck with that. So, thank you for that. Can we have a motion to receive and place on file?
Motion to receive and place on file.
Okay, well, I just flip a coin there. I'll go with Vanderleest on that and then seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Lieutenant. All right, guess what?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Stevens. Do we have a second?
Second.
Vanderleest, unless you want to keep going. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Interesting meeting. I'll give you that. So Attorney or Alder Gerlach, I'm calling you attorney all the time. I think I'm hungry. So anyway, I will give me a call in the morning. I'll be up after 8 o'clock.
Okay.
It's been a lot of fun.
Mark,
Thank you,
one
Attorney
quick
Mace.
question.
Yes.
The person that's actually hosting the meeting, can they make sure that they log us out so our computers, know that?
Okay, well,
if that's possible.
All right, I'll see what we can do on that.
I don't know if that's possible on our end.
I think you got
Celestine only trained us how to pretty much save the Zoom meeting to the city's server. She never told us about anything of logging anyone out.
Alder Vanderleest, I think what you could do is, I've had that issue too in the past, is that when you check out and then maybe you come back in, a couple days later, a lot of times it'll say leave meeting from a few days before. You just click that, and then I've had that happen too. So you just got to look for
Thanks,
that.
Lieutenant Mahoney. Appreciate your help.
Because on my end, all I could do is remove you from this meeting, but I can't log you out.
Okay, not a problem. We'll handle her from this end.
Gotcha.
We'll get it. All right. Thanks again,
Good
gentlemen.
work on the police department there. I think they got good things coming up here.